I think for some guys, buds is a shock to their system. For me, I knew it was going to be hard. I expected a kick in the skull, and they delivered. Almost everybody has a weakness, and the instructors apply pressure on that weakness. And that's why a lot of guys who have never experienced that, we often see it, and I'm sure you've seen it, guys who are naturally talented, who were star athletes in school growing up, or maybe even in college, that then come to SEAL training or they come to special operations training. Oftentimes, those are some of the first guys that end up quitting. They're so genetically gifted, they were able to do very well without maximal effort.
They never faced failure.
That's right. Failure or massive adversity or truly been exposed to, you have weaknesses.
Yeah.
And everybody's got them.
Yeah.
And buds is, people think how physical it is, but, special operations training and buds in this case is designed to be mental.
Yeah.
And they will push everybody to that breaking point. They'll figure out, oh, this is what impacts you. Now we're going to apply pressure on this until you either break and quit, or you break and pick yourself back up, and now you're forged forward and harder. Believe it or not, for me, swimming was a challenge. I was a great swimmer, but never competitively. I never swam long. I was super comfortable in the water, but I was not a fast swimmer. And I really struggled, especially as we got into second phase and third phase. I broke my arm when I was going through training. That slowed me down even more. So that was a challenge for me. I got a lot of grief on my swimming, and thankfully, big shout out, he's out now, but Jimmy Hoy, he became my swim partner and basically just yelled at me in the entire swim to swim faster and beat me along to pass those swims, later in buds.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard you talk about in another interview, your experience with Hell Week and just watching people quit and how you thought, kind of a surprise people were quitting at the rate they were.
Yeah. And the people who quit, I mean, once again, like I'll never forget, Boat Crew 1 in my buds class were the studs.
Yeah.
Boat crews go by height. Tallest dudes are Boat Crew 1 all the way down to the shortest dudes. You would have been in the Smurf crew with me.
Chafing on top of my head from the boat on top of my head.
Yeah, baby. Although I was me and one other guy were like the tallest dudes in the Smurf crew. So that always was kind of interesting. But Boat Crew 1 were beasts. They won everything through first phase. Everything, there's a saying in buds, it pays to be a winner. And when you win, you're rewarded. Like, oh, you get to sit out this next race. And the losers get extra attention in the form of extra push-ups, extra evolutions, whatever it is, you're punished. So the Smurf crew, we lost a lot in first phase. Boat Crew 1 won almost everything. We got into Hell Week, and Tuesday night was Steel Piers, and this table's a great example because it's a lot like Steel Piers. It was a large floating dock. It's midnight on Tuesday night. You've now been awake for over 48 hours now, maybe probably coming up on 50, 60 hours awake, grueling physical activity for that period of time. And Tuesday night really becomes the big breaking point for a lot of individuals. It was cold. I went through Hell Week in March of 1995. So the temp was probably in the 50s out there. And they put you on this large steel pier, and they make you take off all your clothes aside from your dry shorts. And you're in a maybe 5x5 steel riveted area, you and your swim buddy. And you have to do all these weird, hey, fold your clothes, put it in the northwest corner, put your hat in the southwest corner. And if anybody messes up, then the whole class gets punished. And you're punished by laying on top of the steel. They're misting you with a fire hose. Sometimes they're full pressure, knocking people off into the water. And then you're in and out of the water. The instructors will go throw your stuff into the water. So now you're having to dive down in the middle of the night into the muck to find your boot, sock, pants, whatever it is. And then they park up above the steel pier is the actual pier itself. And the vans are parked up on that pier. And the vans are heated and running. And if you quit, they escort you up into the van. They hand you a cup of coffee and a blanket, and you could just see the guys sitting in the van looking down on us warm. So it's very enticing. You're really at the breaking point, and individuals quit in droves. I mean, we lost probably half of our class. But the big shock to me was Boat Crew 1. All of Boat Crew 1 quit except for their boat crew leader who had been a Marine, and he was the one guy that didn't quit. But the entire boat crew, one shot, all quit during Steel Pierce. And it was both a shock to me, and I wonder how many people that boat crew took with them. And that becomes a dividing line oftentimes in life. You know, people who we look up to who suddenly say, I can't do this, or they mess up, creates a sense of doubt in some, whereas in others it becomes like game on. Like if that guy just left, then I have the ability. It almost creates a little more conviction in you. And for me, I think it created more conviction in me. I was like, all right, well, I'm not quitting.
Yeah.
I lost a friend during Hell Week, a guy I'd gone through boot camp with, a guy I'd gone through A school with. He was like a big brother to me. And we weren't in the same boat crew. And on Tuesday, he came up to me and said, hey, man, you know, this is stupid. And I was like, you sound like you've already made your decision. And, you know, once again, he was like, yeah, I'm not sure this is for me. And I was like, huh. And nobody wants to quit by themselves. Right. I'm sure you've seen this.
Yeah.
They always want to try and get somebody to go with them. And oftentimes it works. And man, I knew that, so I stayed away from him. And sure enough, a couple hours later during surf torture, he checked out.
It's the same in life, right? When somebody's spiraling down, they will take somebody with them, and they try to co-op people to kind of join in their pity party or
unless it's mental health.
Yeah.
And we can talk about that because we do the exact opposite of everything we've been trained to do, and that's often what I speak about.
Yeah.
We push everybody away.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I kind of want to do that one solo.
Yeah.
Which is why they end up isolating and alone and leading to the statistic that we you and I both fight against is that veteran suicide statistic because they find themselves alone.
Yeah.
Man, it's so many lessons that come from those times of training. And one of the lessons I just had Marcus Luttrell on, and one of the things he talked about, and I talked about in kind of different vernacular and different language before, is one of the things that training gives you as you bring it over into combat is, the guys that finish that training with you, when they're with you in combat, you don't have to walk into a room and look over your shoulder to know if they're going to be there. The kind of guys that hey, I went through this training, maybe the same class, maybe a different class, but the kind of guys that are on your team because of that training, you never have to look over your shoulder and know that.
Yeah, it gives you that leveling field that no matter what, I mean, you well know there were guys in your team who you loved and you'd love to hang out with them, and there were even guys in your team you did not like.
Right.
But you knew they had your back and you had their back.
Yeah.
Because you knew that they had been tested as we went through training. BUD/S is not the hardest thing you'll go through. Oftentimes the instructors would say that. And when you were a student, it was hard to wrap your head around that when they would say, hey, you're going to do harder things in training. You're going to be colder and more miserable in training. And when you're a student, you're like, whatever. This is definitely the worst it'll ever be. And man, it was not true. I mean, multiple times in training, I was colder, I was more miserable, I was pushed beyond what I thought I could do. And even in combat, I mean, I would not be here. That night that I got shot up, everything in me wanted to go to sleep, to just stop fighting. Yeah. And I definitely attribute that mindset I was taught that you continue to push. And in this case, in some ways it was physical, but it was much more mental. That whole stay awake, stay alive. So training teaches you that, and knowing you have guys around you that have the ability to do that is, and I trust him. And that night, going back to combat, I knew my teammates were going to fight to save my life and to bring me home, dead or alive.
Hey guys, 10 years ago, I had found myself in a position to where investing in Mighty Oaks and all the different things I'm involved in, I had found myself not prepared for retirement. And I went to my friend Ryan Wheelis at Allied Wealth. I'm so happy with the results for me that I asked him to partner with this show, and he is a partner of this show now. So if you're like me and you need someone to help you with your retirement, with your investments, with just your overall wealth management, go to alliedwealth.com and meet Ryan and his team to get you set up.